Hey y'all, it's Dark Sugar Podcast coming to you fresh out the packet with everything black. Dark Sugar.
Hey y'all, welcome to Dark Sugar Podcast. I finished school. I'm on summer break. Don't play with me. Love kids. Love y'all. But whoa, when I always, I would hear growing up, teachers aren't getting paid enough, and my mom was a teacher. But being one now and really seeing what goes on behind the scenes, and it's kind of like if you know type of thing. I do know people and parents who are very empathetic and compassionate towards teachers. I experience a lot of people that don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It all ties back to what I'm going to talk about today, which is capitalism and racism and all the isms and whatever the fuck. But I just have to take another deep breath because I have really been resting has it been a week? It's been a week since the last day of school. If those of you that don't know, I am a middle school 7th and 8th social studies teacher, which is wild because this has been one of my dreams to teach social studies, literally on a page of a journal somewhere, which I'm trying to find this journal because I want to take a picture of it. But I wrote dreams of mine or goals, top goals or whatever. And one of them was become a social studies teacher. So the fact that I just knocked off one, especially because a plight of mine was I never reach my goals, I'm stuck, I don't move forward in life, la la la. So to be doing one of my goals right now means the world to me. So anyway, speech. But that's my check-in. I have been resting. I have been really taking more time for myself and trying not to feel guilty about it, because I really do sometimes resent the 9 to 5. We have to work. A lot of things are, I don't know, America's just so individualized as a personality of our country, if I could say. We're very every man for himself, which I think is a good ideology to an extent, but not the extent here, where I feel like we really don't pay attention to the humanity. Does not seem to be a value. Let's just sit with that. It's not one of our values here in the United States. Yeah. And so these topics have been really deep on my heart. And I do have to say that throughout my trauma healing journey, or whatever I can call it, I did realize that cultivating an opinion about what's going on in the world is really important for your self-development and also self-esteem. And I'm not saying you need to have an opinion on every little fucking thing that's going on, but have some insights into what's going on in your community, especially if it affects your gender, social class, race dynamic thing going on. You know what I mean? At least know what's around you. Know what's going on in your state even. But I think to have opinions on really big values that we hold as a country, I think it's really important to have an opinion on capitalism, to have an opinion on our social structure here, to have an opinion on the education system, just to kind of get outside of yourself, because, going through your healing journey, I don't know about y'all, but I became kind of obsessed with myself. I became kind of obsessed with myself in the sense of I can admit I can be vain just naturally as a person, and in a playful, not harmful way, I hope. But I noticed throughout my healing journey, because I did not have parents who could sit with me and cultivate my world with me, because they were going through their own mental health crises and working through their own trauma, I kind of abandoned myself. So within my healing journey, I remember maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago. No, fuck. 4 years ago. Yeah. 4 years ago, I started EMDR for the second time with a Black therapist. And her first thing was, okay, you're struggling with codependency. I was currently in a relationship at the time, very codependent relationship at the time. And she was just like, you need to find out who you are. Like, you need to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and what's your favorite color and what's your favorite TV show. And I was just kind of like, what? And from that point, I became very obsessively, severely curious about my inner world, to the point where I had to realize that I was very self-referencing at times in conversation with people. And so my point is to help me get outside of myself, because I just saw a reel on TikTok or whatever the fuck of Toni Morrison, and I don't know the full context of what she was saying, but she was kind of like, get outside of your little self, and it's kind of this full circle moment of realizing, yes, I'm an important person and I do matter and I'm unique and I'm special and whatever, but one of my values is interconnectedness and relationships and community. And so in order to cultivate that, I kind of need to get outside of myself and pay attention to what's going on around me. Sorry, my phone is like doing these awkward pauses, so I hope this is transferring okay. But yeah, so to get outside of myself, looking at the news, really paying attention to our values as a country. And I think motivations and values need to be paid attention to more. That's how I become more curious about people. I pay attention to what their values are, what their motivations are. And just talking to somebody for a good 15 minutes and, just asking them questions and letting them express themselves, you can figure out a person's motivation and values. So for the theme or topic of today's episode is fake news, narcissism in Palestine. And I chose this topic because during class one day, I was talking to the kids and, we were having this conversation about Donald Trump and Biden, and they're like, Miss, who's better, like Trump or Biden, da 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 da. And I said, and we were kind of going through that, but I said, you know what, even though Trump was ridiculous as he was, the realest thing he ever said was that there's fake news, even though the way he referenced it wasn't exactly like correct, but he was really right. And I think ever since he said fake news, and with the development of AI, we've really seen that you cannot trust what you see online. Sorry, I'm gonna take a sip of water, hold on. You really can't trust what you see online, and we really have to fact check things. And even I'm thinking of Gigi Hadid, or was it Bella? No, I think it was Gigi, who posted some post regarding Palestine in favor of, and she quoted some statistic that something was wrong, that she said it wasn't fact checked and it was incorrect, and she had to apologize. And so I think I'm realizing that the media is another world. And I'm told the kids, my students, that moving forward, because I told them, you were born into this age of technology. You were born into, like when you were born, the iPhone was already out. So, they're immersed in technology, and I just wanted them to know that, there's a world outside of this. I really need you to sit down and talk to people. It's okay to have an opinion and to choose a side regarding anything, but I really need you to realize that people are people, and there's a world outside of social media. I don't want you to be somebody who becomes so ignorant because you get most of your insights and information from social media instead of it being as I don't know, personable as possible, which what I mean is, for instance, which is the episode. I'm going to get into that. But I was just explaining to them that, I see a lot of adults who have very strong opinions about things that they don't know anything about. And I think a good example was 2016, during the age of Trump, when we had the Black Lives Matter movement explode during that time. And I just saw so many people where I'm like, you never talked to a Black person, have you? I can just tell you have not. Like, because if you think that we care about this and that, and I can't even think of like good enough examples. Let me really try to think for a second. Okay, so I guess like the whole movement in and of itself, right? Like, so the whole Black Lives Matter movement in and of itself, behind that is we Black people just want acknowledgement. We don't want to be gaslit anymore. We don't want to be ignored anymore. We just want to be acknowledged that the things that have happened in this country happened and that they were really bad. And like, we haven't even gotten a full that with ratification yet. So, you know what I'm saying? So, but white people really think that our thing is that we hate white people, or that we think we're better, or that we think white people, the current white people of the day, are directly responsible to racism when that's not, or not to racism, sorry, slavery when that's not, because they are to racism, when that's not what we're saying. Anyway, but I wanted to go into narcissism, which has been a hot topic across social media lately. And I'm not going to lie to you, I have been annoyed. I'm not even going to lie. I have been annoyed, guys, because I did my first, when did I start talking about narcissism on this platform? I believe it was 2000, it must have been 2020. Yeah, it must have been 2020. And I remember there were a lot of people that were like, wow, I haven't really heard anybody talk about this. And I'm not going to say I'm the first person to ever, that's not what I'm saying. But I think in the space of Black women in podcasting, I'm going to say I was one of the first. I'm just going to say it. And I stand to be corrected. And if no one corrects me, I'm going to keep saying it. No, but I'm saying, I'm sure there were others, but I was amongst that group is what I'm trying to say. And I remember when I was reading articles on narcissism at the time to really gain more information, because I was going through narcissistic abuse actively at that moment with people in my life. I realized that there were some discrepancies, or there were some generalizations that I was like, okay, that's not all the way true. Like, interesting. And to be honest, until recently, I hadn't found resources that could pinpoint for sure, for certain, exactly describe what I had experienced, because they were so general, and it fell into that pop psychology notion of what I'm about to look up right now, because I can't explain it without looking it up. And I know I saw a post on this too. Pop psychology. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Pop psychology is not psychology. Facts. And this is quoted by Sarut K. Chawala, which I am so sorry, girl. I'm just assuming it's a girl. I don't know who this is. Okay, but I'm so sorry. I pronounced your name wrong. Okay, so here are some examples of pop psychology. 1, everyone you dislike is not a narcissist. Oh. So this is the real psychology. So pop psychology is just because a person is maybe a little toxic, that makes them automatically a narcissist, when in fact, someone that is an official narcissist, that's a clinical term used for someone that has narcissistic personality disorder, which is actually pretty rare. I think it's more common for people to have narcissistic traits, but to have the full-blown disorder is rare. Just like having attachment issues could be a symptom of a personality disorder. And while many people have attachment issues, not everybody has a personality disorder. So, that. Pop psychology. Okay, so I'm gonna type in pop psychology. We're gonna actively research together. Pop psychology, and I'm gonna go narcissism. Because, for instance, one thing that I saw and I keep seeing is that narcissists don't have empathy, which I strongly disagree with, because I can agree that some narcissists don't, but I've met narcissists that do, and the ones that do, they have empathy. They're able to they were able to feel what I was feeling, but where the disorder came in was that they did not properly handle my feelings that they felt. And Sam Vaknin, who is a psychologist and is he a psychiatrist? But anyway, he's a doctor, and he's one of the founders he coined no contact for narcissism, and he has many videos on YouTube. I think he has like definitely over 100, and he actually has narcissistic personality disorder himself. And many people on the internet over TikTok self-proclaim narcissists. I'm not saying they don't have narcissistic personality disorder, but they make videos saying, I'm a narcissist, this is my experience. And they're just everyday people. I need someone who's studied this, like, as a discipline, not a random narcissist talking about narcissism, because they're all saying the same thing. It's not that insightful to me. As far as the psyche behind narcissism goes, or behind personality disorders and identity disturbances, like, they can't explain it to me the way Sam Vaknin or anybody with, or no, I'm not even going to say that, because I've seen other psychologists on the internet, like, who's that woman? She's, Indian, I believe, or of the Asian persuasion. And I can't think of her name right now, but she's all over the internet talking about narcissism, and she's cool, but I don't even like her explanation. I don't even like her explanations. I think they're not terrible, but to me they're kind of vague and general, and so I'm just like, no. But anyway, so Sam Vaknin said that he coined the term cold empathy. I believe he coined it, but he used the words cold empathy. And that's when you have empathy, but instead of using it for that other person, which is what you're supposed to do, you use it in an antisocial way for yourself. So, let's say I know that one of your triggers is, your body. And we're in a relationship, and I'm a narcissist or whatever. So I can feel that you feel really insecure around your body. And when people make comments, and you've told me, hey, when people make comments, and let's say I've tested one time and I've made a comment, I could feel that you felt insecure about that. And now I'm going to use that insecurity to weaponize you. The only way I would really know that bothered you to the extent that it does in order to control you is if I had empathy and I could feel that you felt severely insecure. So I would, that connotation that like, oh, narcissists don't feel empathy at all, I'm like, that's not exactly true. Like, it's just not so cut and dry, unfortunately. I feel like people are explaining it in the most simple way they can, but to me it leads to misconceptions on the internet. So I don't know. I don't like it. And even like, what other things? Yeah. So chances are, so it's saying that the way NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is misused is because it affects 0.5 to 5% of the population. And it's being misused as an insult or a derogatory manner, or just a generalization of somebody who you're in conflict with, which is just no. But also, for someone who has gone through narcissistic abuse myself, one key thing that I feel like people are missing and they do not understand. And when I look at posts on narcissism, they're very general. When I look at chat groups, I'm glad I never like fully joined one, but I think I did join one and then I left it because I'm just like, this feels really toxic. And I'm not trying to judge I'm not casting judgment on anybody. I'm just speaking freely and directly at this moment. But I've seen a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse who just swirl in the past. And I understand they're trying to heal and they're trying to figure it out, but I highly encourage them to study narcissism in the terms of psychology, like actual psyche, personality development, identity development, child development, parental attachment to specifically the mom. I feel like once you study that, you're able to free yourself because you finally understand how this person's brain works. Because I feel like in these groups and online, people are just like, oh my God, they do this. Why do they do that? Oh my God. Yeah, they do that. And he did that. And he did the same thing. He lied and cheated. Oh my God, mine lied and cheated. And oh my God, she was, a backstabber and she would talk about me. Oh my God, same. And you just keep swirling in it. But for me, once I started studying narcissism a little more as a discipline and started studying Freud and psychology and again, Sam Vaknin, I was able to release so much because I understood that it wasn't me and it had nothing to do with me. Because narcissism is a defense mechanism. Even deeper, it's a survival mechanism. The narcissist has an incomplete personality that hasn't been fully developed. So when you interact with one, what you see and what you're witnessing is is this person desperately trying to make up for where they're lacking? And that's where the disorder comes, because their personality wasn't developed orderly, normally, like the average person. And usually that's a significant trauma in early stages of development with their mom, not your dad, your mom, in some way. Either something physically happened, something emotionally was happening, something mentally was happening where and genetics are involved too a little bit, but it's really the attachment to the mom and some sort of trauma early in childhood. And it affects the wiring of the brain and the brain chemistry. And the narcissist learned as a child, their brain adapted to the fact that in order to get my needs met, I need to abandon who I am. And, across the board, having to lie and cheat and steal and make up for a lack of a personality, essentially. And so I feel like once people kind of move away from taking it so personal, which is hard, like it's really hard. I'm not saying it's easy to not take things like that personal, especially when you've been in any type of intimate relationship with them, whether that be platonic or romantic, but intimate, like close. It's hard to just go, oh, okay, all of that wasn't personal, but it's really not. That's the structure of their personality. And that's another, I think, misconception. Personality. I've been studying the development of the personality for a couple years. I've been studying ego, and through the Enneagram specifically, which is a, personality assessment that I think is incredible, and I highly recommend it. But, throughout studying the personality, it wasn't up until recently that I realized that I didn't understand the term personality the way I thought I did. I knew that our personality develops from childhood. It's a lot of factors that go into your personality. It's also your temperament, but I know it's not like the real you. I know we can shift it and it can change and it can grow and evolve and whatever. But as far as personality disorders go, I did not know that for personality disorders, your brain is affected. So it's not just like, oh, these are just behaviors, the lying, cheating, stealing. It's like, this is how their brain is wired. That's why they don't stop. That's why they usually don't stop. And that's why we have these rare cases of these people online who usually they say they're in therapy or something. And I think they're using social media as another healthy outlet for narcissistic supply. I don't knock it. I think it's healthy. I'm like, hey, go for it. And other people probably do too that don't know they're narcissists. But I wish those people on those chats and in those groups of narcissistic abuse survivors really, once you study the brain and I'm not saying this is to sound elitist, like literally just go online or like go on YouTube, the neurology of a narcissist or like the brain of a narcissist, and just like really listen, and you'll go, oh my God, they're just like this. Like, it's nothing personal. And then Sam Vaknin even goes into he even explains a lot of the why. Why they lie, why they cheat, why they steal. It's pathological, this, that, their attachment, how that develops into their personality and blah, blah, blah. And you're just able to let it go when you realize it has nothing to do with you. I'm not saying that I've completely 100% let all of it go, but I no longer feel this self-deprecating, oh my God, I wasn't perfect, or there was something wrong with me and that's why this person acted this way. I'm kind of like, wow, that person acted this way because of X, Y, and Z. It's unacceptable behavior. Because just because you understand how they work doesn't mean it makes it okay. It just I'm able to take myself more out of the equation. I'm able to remove myself more after studying it and not just talking about it in circles with somebody or even a therapist, because some of them will let you do that. A good therapist will stop you and redirect you back to yourself, I believe. But with my own healing, researching has severely helped. And not just and even I think I said this in another episode, I unfollowed so many mental health accounts because I was just getting flooded with all this information. And then I realized, like, yo, these people are just like normal people like me, just writing whatever the fuck. Like, they just, like, and a lot of them weren't professionals. And even some of them that are professionals, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So and that helped so much. I just unfollowed so many of them. And so I encourage you to become curious, because a lot of this shit is fake news. We really have to check it, especially, oh my God, narcissism. Everybody's using the word. Everybody knows a narcissist and and it's just so much more complicated. It's not cut and dry. And actually, Sam Vaknin is rallying for cluster B personalities to just be conjoined into one thing, because he's like, really, all of their base is grandiosity. It's just expressed in different variants, but they transfer over like quite frequently, and they can shift and flip and whatever. But his whole thing is, it's not cut and dry. I think the DSM-5 and all of these, especially like westernized psychology resources, I'm hoping to think that they're just simplified just so the everyday person can read them. But even so, I feel like it could be explained better in a way where people understood that there is so much gray with this stuff. Narcissism has an extreme amount of gray in the way it presents. And just know that this person is just making up for where they lack. And that's why it's coming out odd and hurtful. I think of like a toddler that wants to play with everybody, but they're assholes. But they really want to play, But then when you do play with them, they don't play fair and they knock you over and throw mud at you. And you're like, what the fuck? But they're like, I just want to play with you. I think of like a little kid like that. And that's another thing emotionally. And I feel in some psychological developments, narcissists are like on average, like I think what they said was like, I think it was like 2 to 9 years old, 2 to 7 years old, something like that, which makes a lot of sense because the tantrums, the I get what I want, it's about me, and no mom, and the hitting and the whatever they do. I didn't mean to make light of that, but you know, it just feels like, wow, you're just a very large baby. Like that's what I don't know, that's what I think. But I'm saying all that to say that back to what Tony said, your little old self, you know, little old me, like not everything's about us. And I feel like our trauma makes it about us. Our own perceptions, our own subconscious narratives make it about us. It's not always about you. I hate hearing that sometimes, and I hate saying it, but it's true. And that's freeing. It is. It's a freeing thing. But moving along the terms of fake news and pop psychology, Palestine and what's happening right now and what's been happening. The same thing with narcissism that I was explaining to my students, but same thing. That the issue, and I'm not trying to say it's complicated, but I really need people to get outside of themselves sometimes when we have world issues become mainstream or popularized because of what's going on, specifically right now, and with the Biden administration and all the money that he sent to Israel. I need people to realize, and this throws me back to 2016 when I remember calling my mom, going off about Trump. I'm pissed. I'm like, Mom, these white people, like, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe they're fucking doing this. They're fucking crazy. Like, this is the world we live in. This is wild. Can you believe that he's president? Can you believe that this is happening? Can you believe that these black people are getting murdered by cops on TV and no one gives a shit? And I'm going off. And my mom just is like, you gotta calm down. She's like, you've got to calm down. She said, you sound like me when I was, at Texas Southern and Angela Davis came to our school. She's like, you sound like me then. And she was like, you'll have a stroke if you keep going like this. And it reminded me of, was it Langston Hughes or James Baldwin? I always do this, but one of them was talking about, if you're completely conscious of the injustices or whatever in the world all the time, you'll just be upset. And I feel like we sometimes need to take breathers from criticizing society to realize that we're in the society that we're criticizing. You're actively in it right now. I'm thinking of Kanye when he's talking about black people this, black people that, black people think they're slaves, black people, when I'm like, fuck nigga, you're black. Did you forget you're black? And I feel like he did forget he was black, and he recently got checked. I'm not saying any ill will, that's not where I'm going, but it's like he got a reality check, like, yeah, you're a black man. You were a billionaire. Like, they could take that from you. Don't forget you're black. You may be at the top and you may be this and you're Kanye West and you're a god and whatever, but you're black. And I felt like he forgot for a second. And sometimes I just feel like people forget that the society that you're criticizing and all these people doing all these things, you actively participate in genocide every day just by living your life here in the United States and buying what you buy. It doesn't matter what you buy. It doesn't matter that you just boycotted McDonald's or whoever. You still contribute. just by buying groceries and filling up your car. And I'm saying that to say, why am I saying that? I'm not saying I want people to calm down or I want people to think how I'm thinking, but I just really want people to understand how deep this shit goes. It goes so deep. I'm thinking of this, even the recycling movement and the green movement. And I think I don't know where I'm saying this from, but it was like they said, all the citizens and the average people are trying to recycle and save the ozone when these big corporations are the ones that are putting the pollutants in the air. They're the ones that need to stop. Us doing this little shit will make maybe a little dent, but we're trying to make up for what they're doing. And I even was telling a friend the other day, I was like, boo-boo, you can yell stats at me all day about Palestine, and I am with you, and I hear you, and I'm very pro-Palestine, but those people up there, they're the one, them. I'm like, tell them what the, and it's not like they don't know, they don't care. We live in a society. That's why I said humanity is not a value in the United States, and it never has been. So when people are getting killed and when we're participant in genocide, I am not shocked. Our country was built on it. Genocide began right when Columbus stepped foot. That was that. Even before then, so I'm saddened. I know change needs to happen, but I want us to also extend humanity towards each other, because I'm seeing people blast people online for not being up to the minute, hour, date of what's going on in the world, everywhere, not just Palestine, Congo, Venezuela, wherever, Honduras, wherever. And I'm kind of like, okay, yes, I do agree. That's why I said in the beginning of this episode, I highly encourage all of us to step outside of ourselves and interact more with the world around us, because we do need to step outside of our little old selves. But I want people to kind of just take a breath, because a lot of people right now who are very active in the pro-Palestine movement and are working really hard to create change in our government right now, I know that they are the grassroots foundation of a whole shift globally and energetically, but also the humanity that we're extending to those in Palestine and wherever else. I want to make sure that we're also extending it to each other, because this is a lot of pressure. And I'm seeing a lot of posts that are like, you're saying you can't handle the pictures. What about the people in the pictures? Like, you're saying that this is a lot to hear, but it's really a lot to hear for the people in power. And I'm like, no, guys, this is a lot, period. And I understand we have the privilege here in the United States. I'm not a refugee. We're not getting bombed. There's no terrorist threat over here. I have food and water. I'm not worried about trying to move from one place to another with shady directions on where to go. Not in an active genocide over here. So that's an extreme privilege. I acknowledge that. But I also want the humanness and humanity and the compassion and the empathy to go towards each other, because yes, girl, yes, sir, that this is a lot. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot to click through every day. It's a lot to try to digest, that this is real life, that we're seeing some of the biggest business deals in the history of our country to support a genocide right before us, when we've been learning and trying to educate each other on the genocides of the past so this shit doesn't repeat, and then we're seeing it again. It's traumatizing. For different levels, for different people. So that's all I want to say. And I'm not telling people to stop posting. Keep posting. Keep rallying. Keep boycotting. Yes. But also take a breath and really extend grace and empathy to that person next to you. And I'm not saying the 2016 assholes, like, fuck them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about well-meaning daily social activists who are really trying, like me. Like, I'm talking about myself, who I'm really trying, y'all. I'm trying. Okay? And I want to get better. And maybe I'm a pessimist and I'm not trying to be that either. But I'm just trying to express to you how I'm viewing things. And I'm just like, yes, viva la revolución, pero I'm not seeing it coming for another 5 to 10 years. Definitely praying for sooner, but I'm finally, I think it just hit me one day. Oh, I know what happened. I know when it hit me. It just hit me when it hit me. So when it hit me was when I started working at the school I'm working at now, which is in South Phoenix. You know, you can just guess how it is because I just said South Phoenix, sorry. Getting some water. South Phoenix, and we're in a whole district. Title I school, we get plenty in grants. However, the lack of resources at this school that I teach at, it's really disheartening. And I remember driving home one day, it was like, I think it was after my first week of school or maybe second or whatever. And I was like, wow, like, we really don't have resources. There's like it's a predominantly Latino population at the school and in the community, sprinkled with, some black kids. But in general, in South Phoenix is known as like the blacker area. But at this school, it's predominantly Latino. And I'm just like, I'm over here teaching in a district. Meanwhile, maybe 10 minutes away. Well, no, maybe like 10, 15 minutes away at the schools closer to the inner city that have a higher white population. They have amazing resources, and I don't think they have the same issues. I know they don't. I've worked at those schools. They don't have the same issues that we do. And I was kind of like, why is that? Like, why is it like, oh my God, why is it like that? And then I realized, Kiana, and I'm trying to take, and this really helped me when I did this, because I'm taking what I learned in college, because I'm 29, so I'm, like I said, I'm part of that Black Lives Matter group. Like, that was us, like, you know what I mean? That was us being like, wait, our education was trash about our history. This is what it really is. This is what racism is. Wait, this is how to vote. Do you know how to vote? This is our president. Like, a lot was going on. And I remember thinking, wait, Kiana, so you live in a capitalist, racist society, correct? And I'm like, right. And I asked myself, so if you live in a capitalist, racist society, then a school like this, with disparities this large, that coincide with, you're seeing the correlation with race and class, that makes sense if you live in a racist capitalist society. And then I kind of was just like, my shoulders dropped, and I was like, oh, okay. And it just like really helped me. It really helped me. And I was just able to just relax and, I don't know, just not put the weight of the world on my shoulders, literally, because that's what I do. And I see y'all working, and sometimes I'm just like, I hope you're not putting the whole weight of the world on your shoulders. Like, breathe. Please, y'all, like, make sure you're taking care of yourself. This is a lot. collectively. And even if you're off social media and you're trying, not to absorb not just the stuff about the genocide across the world, but even just social media in general, it's a lot. So take care of yourself. And if you're debating on, should I take a social media break? One option is taking more control of your social media. Like, you can go through and mute people. Maybe you don't want to block or delete people, but go through your friends list and see who you're following. And if someone makes you feel any type of way when you look at their pictures, just mute them or delete them if you're not even close. You know what I mean? But also there's this section on your friends list where you can see like kind of every celebrity or people that brands or whatever. And so make sure you're following celebrities that make you feel good, that uplift you, that when you look, you experience some joy. Don't look at people that make you feel bad or shitty or fat or remind you of your insecurities or something, like, we have control over what we see on our social media. So before I take breaks or delete the app, if I need, sometimes I have to go through and just go like, wait, is there something specific? Is there like a specific account or something that's making me feel a type of way that I'm not acknowledging right now? But yeah, I just want us to be easy on ourselves and each other, but also, look at social media for what it is. I think social media is incredible. I don't think it's bad. However, I think sometimes our perspective of it can be a little damaging and limiting. And I'm really working on that myself. Even now, I'm kind of like, have I been, doom scrolling on social media like a little too much? Yes. So that's something I need to work on. But my mouth is starting to hurt. I've been talking a lot. But go easy, y'all. Love you.